Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and I'm joined with author and economic systems expert John Sneisen. Now, I spoke about a few years ago on WHAM about the potential of negative interest rates. People at the time called me crazy. People aren't used to this kind of form of economics. They're starting to understand things now, but a few years ago, it feels like a million miles away because things have really started to change as reality has kind of struck us in the face and given people no choice but to understand what's going on. So I wanted to talk about negative interest rates with John here, as it's become such a huge reality in the world, and mainstream media networks are even talking about it. So John, can you give us a few examples of how this has become a reality in society today?
In Europe, for example, there's a couple of examples right now where you have Switzerland, you have Sweden and Denmark. They're the ones that have negative interest rates right now. Negative interest rates is supposed to mean that you can actually force people to spend money into the economy. Now, what we've seen is that is not happening in the economy. Switzerland is in a deflationary state right now because people are aging. Most European countries have baby boomers, where the baby boomers actually are retiring, they're downsizing, and that creates a national deflationary scenario. Now, central bankers hate deflation. They hate it. Because they need inflation in order for the system to work the way they want it. Now, what is happening is the deflation, they believe they could fight it with measures of getting people to spend money. Now, by putting in a negative interest rate, they thought that would actually force people to spend money into the economy and increase monetary velocity, which they call it. That didn't happen at all. People took the money out of the banks, but they didn't spend it. They stuffed it in their mattresses.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, we can go to Japan, which recently was the biggest economy right now. Not really. We'll get to it right away. But Japan is one of the biggest economies that went to negative interest rates. In Japan right now, safe sales are soaring, and people are buying safe to keep the cash at home because they don't believe having it in the banking system anymore because it's flawed with negative interest rates. So we're definitely seeing a stupid idea backfiring on these idiot central bankers. Sorry for my wording, but that's what it is. It's a belief that the negative interest rates actually would create something, and they did the complete opposite. People are fed up with the central bankers that believe that they can control the world and make everything good. They're nothing more than a communist collectivist thought.
It's a manifestation of the Communist Manifesto of many years ago.
Yeah, it's central planning 2.0 with the central banks. Now, they say that, we don't have a communist society. Well, when you have a central bank that does control the money supply, then you have a communist society light already. I don't know what else to say about that.
Something that you mentioned there was people kind of putting their money in their mattresses. And isn't it interesting that you see so many rich people, and it is a big risk putting money in your own home because you can get robbed. But when these rich people are taking money out of the banks and finding that it's less risky to keep all this money in their own homes in a lot of cases, that should tip us off about how insanely risky it is now to keep your money in the banks. So can you tell people a bit about how, why we should be taking our money out of the banks and how we should be, looking elsewhere? Because after all, the money that we have in banks isn't our money, it's the bank's money.
Yeah, as soon as we put that money in the banking account, it's not ours anymore. It's an IOU to the bank. We don't own it anymore, and people don't understand that unless you take that money physically out of the bank and hold it in your hand, it's not yours until you do that. So you're actually lending it to the bank. Now, the crazy thing with negative interest rates is you're lending the money to the bank and you're supposed to get a return on investment for you actually putting your money in the bank. Well, you're not even, therefore you actually have to pay for it now. It's total monetary insanity, and they believe that they can print this money and just push up prices on everything, manipulate everything. And I think we need to, I don't know if anybody's used this term anymore, but it's I call it it's time to realize the laws of the monetary universe, which is monetary gravity. What comes up must go down.
Yeah, absolutely, and well said. So where do you think this will go from here? What do you think the world's going to look like for negative interest rates, and what, like, also the side effects of these negative interest rates over the next coming years?
Well, I think we're going to see tons more, because these bankers are willing to do what has been done and failed all over again, and believe that is a good way to do it, because their monetary theory tells them that it should work. So I believe we're going to see lots more of it. Canada, Norway, Bulgaria, Singapore, Israel, among a whole bunch of others. The Eurozone is half of the bonds that get issued right now is in negative interest rate, actually, in Germany and other countries around in the Eurozone. And people don't even know that. But I think we might actually see the US and also the Eurozone going into negative. Like right now, the Eurozone is at negative 0.05, which is very close to going into negative. The United States is at 0.5. They said that they're going to raise interest rates, but what is going to happen is they're going to realize that they can't manipulate a failing, deflating, and a recessionary state of the economy in the United States, and they're going to end up going into negative interest rates there as well. And we're not going to see interest rate rises that people have predicted all over the world. Then it's just the monetary insanity of these people. They do believe that they can manipulate and fix markets through their derivatives, through their printing of money. They do believe that very much, and it's not going to happen. We're going to see the banking system crumble as we have today. We're not going to have it probably in 5-10 years from now, the setup that we have now. It's going to completely be obliterated, because people are losing faith in the currencies that we're using all around the world. And we need to understand that this system has failed so many times. It doesn't matter that you believe that you found an economic theory that's going to change everything. We've seen that they failed over and over again on that. So I do believe, like, we're going to see so much things happening with failures in currencies. And we've seen it right now with gold, for example, going up against other currencies. It's only US dollar and the euro that really has stayed stagnant, and that's what we see, the price of gold. But if you go to 27 currencies that I looked at lately, 27 of those gold price in that currency increased from 2 to 8 times over the last 5 years.
Wow.
So we're definitely heading in for a big crash in the markets, and way more negative interest rates, because that's what they've put in their heads that is a good thing to do, and that's what's going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, honestly, when was the last time that a centrally planned economy worked in the long term? When was the last time that it was successful? I mean, people can give me certain stats about this centrally planned economy worked for this period of 20 years. Yeah, okay, well, find one single centrally planned society that's lasted for hundreds of years. It can't happen, because these are always, these kind of measures that the central banks are putting in place are temporary measures, often for war times, often things that are just supposed to be temporary to patch up a world or the country's economy, and then go right back to the more free market ideas, not these wingnut economic theories that people pull out of where, and they work for a few decades. I mean, look at the pain and suffering so many countries have gone through, so many people have gone through. Look what's happening in Venezuela right now. Look what's happened in so many places.
The suicides in Greece and rest of Europe. It's monetary insanity, and these people are killing people because of their monetary. They believe that they can control everything. Yeah,
and it's sad, because people look at economics often and they think, well, this is really boring, all these numbers, and what's a derivative, and what does any of this mean? and I understand that. That was me for many years. The economics was one of the last things I ever got to, out of world history, etc. But we have to understand that one of the most important things out there when it comes to actually affecting us as individuals is the monetary system. Monetary system can just as easily enslave us as anything else. I mean, as your book title aptly says, The End of Freedom, How Our Monetary System Enslaves Us, which you should find on Amazon. It's doing quite well right now. What's it at?
It's doing well. Right now it's at 10th place, I believe, but it's always fluctuating up and down, but it's been doing well. I've been selling a decent amount of books, and we've been able to help people understand what's going on, because that's what my book is all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about the solutions. It's first of all, you need to understand the monetary system.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about solutions, and that's where I come in with the economic truth and working with Josh at World Alternative Media, giving you insights into all these crazy policies and trying to make sense of them.
Yeah, too often people bring up supposed solutions, and those solutions are uneducated because people haven't actually looked deeply into the most boring and difficult side of things. But I guarantee you, once you understand some of these things, it's actually very exciting, and it feels good being able to see ahead, have that foresight, and know what to do and what not to do and how to stay safe. So that's one of our biggest things here at WAM, is making sure that you have the information that keeps you and your family and your friends safe. So this is Josh Sigurdson signing out. John Sneisen, World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.